This is the Everything Weight Loss podcast with Shari Ware, where we talk about everything, all things, anything to do with weight loss, health, and wellness. So today we're talking to Shawn Matthews, who is the owner and founder of Open Arms Health. She assists women to reclaim their time, voice, value, and vision, and in the process create love, leadership, and happiness throughout their lives. Shawn believes we all have a story that has made us who we are today. Sometimes as women we can be scared to speak up, which can keep some women small, stuck, and unhappy. Shawn believes that every woman has a right to have a voice and be heard for what they have been through, whether good, bad, or indifferent. So first of all, welcome to the Everything Weight Loss podcast, Shawn. Lovely to have you.
Thank you, Shari, for having me on.
And so I'm going to ask you, what's your story? Why do you do what you do?
Well, yes, it's an interesting question, isn't it? There's my story dates back to about 8 years ago when it was about 8 years ago. And I had a lot of loss in my life. Went through a lot of grief. I lived in Australia, and as you can hear from my accent, I grew up in Canada, but was actually born here on the Gold Coast. And I had a lot of moves in my childhood and things like that. But 8 years ago, my mother called me up and said that she was sick. And she was one of those most healthy women that you've ever met. She did all these alternative medicines, everything. And what happened was she called me up and she said, "Shawn, sit down. I have cancer."
Wow.
And she was only 60 at the time. 60, turning 61. And my heart dropped. I had no idea she was sick. It hit her really quickly. She had melanoma, which had a very aggressive skin cancer. And it really hit home for me that even the healthiest person can get sick.
Yeah.
So in that year, I went home. Fast forward, I went home to be with her and my sister. I have a younger sister. She's 10 years younger than I am. And for that whole year, we just went through a lot of grief, a lot of ups and downs. And I lost my voice. I lost who I was. I lost what I represented. What I thought before Mom passed away was something completely different to what I think now. So I felt that in that time, I went through a lot of growth. I had to do a lot of things on my own with my sister that I was never aware of before. Going through the estate things, understanding my grief, which I didn't even understand at the time. I didn't know what was going on. And I felt really, really lost and unheard because I didn't know what was going on. I was actually totally confused too. And in that process, I picked myself up and did what I needed to do. And with my sister and my family's assistance, everyone helped me, which was fantastic. I had a lot of support around me. But what I found was that not everyone has that kind of support. And to be honest, before Mom passed away, I wasn't one to ask for help. So that was the big thing. I didn't want to ask for help. I thought I could do it all on my own. But then after that, I started asking for help. That was the biggest lesson for me. I started asking for help. I started reaching out more. And really in that process, I went back to study my counseling degree. And I wanted to become a counselor to have a more meaningful career. I worked with children. I was a travel agent. So I was always in the helping industries. But this was just a different space. And I thought that I could help more women and more people doing doing what counselors do. And so that's what brought me to where I am today, is that I was in the drug and alcohol space for 2 years. And then I branched out on my own and wanted to help more women. And so here I am today talking to you.
And so is that because of your own experience? You feel that that's why you're drawn to working more with women?
Yes, I believe that I can help more women in the space that I needed help in, that I felt like I didn't have that help in, which was stress, anxiety, and grief. And I think a lot of women don't speak up. A lot of men don't speak up either. But I felt that myself as a woman, I think that women don't speak up in general. They think they need to be as tough as men. And we're in that 21st century that we are business entrepreneurs. We have great mindsets. We're moms, we're helping professionals, we're wives, we're partners, we're all these sort of things. But when it comes to our own self-care and our self-love, we tend to forget.
Yeah.
So that's why I do what I do.
And so do you feel that you've had a superpower come out of your experience? Is there something that you would describe as your superpower?
Yeah, I would say that it would be active listening. Over the 8-9 years, I have really been in tune with what people are saying and what they're feeling and thinking, because my intuition comes out and I have quite a high empathic nature.
Yeah, wow. So active listening combined with intuition and empathic, that's a real valuable superpower, I feel, definitely. Especially in this, well, not even just in this day and age, but in so many instances, people, as you say, are afraid to speak up. So when you do get them talking, that intuition would be something that would really help you steer in the right direction, do you feel?
Definitely. Yep. I have a client now that is going through a lot of relationship issues, and she just doesn't know what to do. She's wanting to get married, but there's a lot of stuff in her background and in her past that keeps coming up. So that's what we're working through, because she really wants to start her marriage right and with a fresh, clean slate.
Without the baggage from the past.
Yeah, without the baggage from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd really like to talk about, I love that you help women to reclaim their time, voice, value and vision, and in the process create love, leadership and happiness. So tell us more about how you do that with people.
I use different modalities. There are certain modalities out there, people not sure what therapy really is. I guess what we forgot to mention in the introduction, I guess, is that I am a registered counselor and coach. And so I use different therapies to guide the women through, depending on the person sitting in front of me. Now, the biggest one that I use is called person-centered therapy, which is basically sitting in front of the person and being with them. Just like you and I are sitting here at this moment, we are quite present with each other.
Yep.
There's not a lot of women or people out there that can be that present. So I am sitting there right in front of them in the here and now and being present with them. And I just work with what is going on for them at that time. So if you're going through, for instance, grief or something at that stage, we talk about that. And then other things will come up in the process.
So, wow, that's a big thing to say, that many people aren't present. So let's talk more about that. Let's explore that more. What does that mean
Sure.
to you?
It means that a lot of people women, I'm going to say women in particular, have forgotten how to connect with their heart and their head.
Yeah.
Rather than being a business, there's a lot of women out there just like you and I, and we can be in our heads sometimes. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I can be in my head. Yeah. And we can be in our heads. And we're like, oh, what's the next this? What's the next that?
Yeah.
What do I have to do tomorrow? What do I have to do in a week's time? Instead of just sitting in the present moment and go, okay, we're just having a conversation here. We're going to worry about what is going to happen in an hour's time later.
Wow. And I guess so many people, especially in this modern age, they're so busy. There's so many things to do that, and especially as women who are parents and business people or working, and they're trying to do all the things, they're trying to juggle all the things, are always, so often focused on, okay, what do I do next? What do I have to do next? Not what am I doing now? So that's a really big thing. Wow.
Yeah, it is, because going to your heart and speaking from your heart is very hard for people, because that's emotions. Emotions will come up. If you really speak from your heart rather than your head, people are scared of that. And that's why I do what I do, is to bring those emotions up. There's a lot of people that are hardwired not to speak about their emotions. Whereas I believe emotions create everything.
Yes. Well, and I, in my experience, a lot of times when people don't deal with their emotions, it comes out in negative ways. For instance, emotional eating. For instance, drinking too much. For instance, it could be smoking for somebody. They're all ways that people, probably not so positive ways that people deal with their emotions. So I feel that your way is a positive way to deal with emotions.
Yeah, we call that talking therapy, which a lot of people do talk to let their emotions out with friends and family. But sometimes the clients that come to me can't talk to their spouses or their family because they might have guilt or shame, and they need to let it out with somebody that they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's where I come in. And I think that maybe is that what you do as well?
Part of it. Definitely. That's definitely part of it. It's just, I just come at it from a different angle, but that's definitely a big part of it. So the asking for help thing, this is a recurring theme in my life at the moment. I keep having conversations about it, which is really good, because the more that we have conversations about it, especially in a public forum such as this, the more people it's going to be able to help. So asking for help, do you feel that is still something that people find very hard to do?
Yes, very challenging. Even with everything that's going on with COVID in the beginning of March, even though more people are asking for help, there's still a lot of people that are not asking for help, and they're hiding away. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of suicides this year because people don't feel like they can't help. They can't ask for help at all. They feel ashamed. They get into a depression, and it's really sad. But I think the more we encourage people to ask for help and do things like this and talk about it in podcasts and social media and YouTube and all those sort of platforms, then the more it's more acceptable and it will reach more people.
I feel that part of the reason why people find it so difficult to ask for help is because we weren't brought up that way. I feel like it's not something that's really taught. Would that be your experience?
Yeah, well, in my experience growing up, that was basically, we can do it all. And I grew up with a single mother that did it all. She was a mother, a business owner, she owned her own house. And from my point of view, she did it all.
She was super.
And she never, yeah. And she was, in that respect, as a young girl, that's what you would say.
Yeah.
But I did obviously saw her different sides, but still, she never really wanted to reach out because of her pride.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned from her, is that you really do need to ask for help.
Yeah.
That was only after she passed away, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, it is a big lesson to learn. It's certainly a lesson that a very big lesson that I've learned as well in my life. Not through the experience that you've had, but just in general, because I was one of those who struggled to ask for help as well. I was a single parent, and for quite a few years I was a foster carer as well, and I just like it was up to me to do all the things on my own, and to finally get to the point where I realised, hey, no, it's actually okay to ask for help, and everybody needs help at some point in their lives with something, and it's okay to ask for it. And the other way I came to terms with it too is, I sat back and I thought, well, I really love helping people. That's lights me up. That's, I really love helping people. And I'm sure that I'm not the only person in the world who loves people.
No, that's right.
So why should I be the only, and I'm not the only one. There's lots of people who are feeling like I was feeling, but why should I be the only one to give all the help and not be able to receive it? And, with everything there is a duality. There's give and take with everything. And it's definitely, I feel it's the universe's way. Not only is it great to give, it's also equally as great to receive.
100% agree with you there. It's a cycle. Giving and receiving is a cycle. If you're always giving, then and not receiving, then that just stops the cycle. And if you're always receiving and not giving, you stop the cycle. But if you give and receive and it's shared, then you're actually coming together and helping each other.
And I feel like there would be a ripple effect from that as well.
Definitely.
Because you said as you're completing the cycle by giving and receiving, I feel that then, because the cycle's not stopping, it's continuing, and it's continuing in different directions. So that would increase the ripple effect as well. I guess it's like pay it forward.
Exactly.
Awesome. I love pay it forward. I love that concept. I remember when I first saw that movie years ago, and I just thought it was fantastic. Okay, so I know that you touched on before that you help women with stress. So would you have any tips that you would want to give them right now that would really help them with that?
Well, it does depend on what stress they're under at the moment. But if you are feeling quite overwhelmed and stressed, I would start with sitting down and writing a journal, writing your thoughts down, and writing whatever you're stressed about on a piece of paper. Then you can rip it up, burn it, throw it away. And basically, you just let it go.
Perfect.
So that's a good one. The next one I would recommend, even just taking time out for yourself. It's really, really challenging for women to take time out for themselves. I've had that challenge myself, but even for half a day on the weekends, just to go by yourself, ask somebody, if you're a mother and you just need, you don't have family around or anything like that, then maybe just ask a friend to take your family. Take your family.
Take them away.
I mean, just hold them for a day, not take them away. And yeah, so so you can have that time alone, but you can definitely give them back.
You do want them back eventually, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. But just, or just have an hour to yourself. Because that's even quite challenging, an hour to meditate. If you don't meditate, go out, take yourself out for a coffee, sit by the beach. If you're not near a beach, go and do something you really enjoy.
Yeah, that's a big one, definitely. A lot of women just don't do that, and it's really beneficial. So, okay, so if there is one thing that you would like somebody to walk away knowing after they've listened to this episode, what would be the one thing that you want them to know?
It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay to ask for help. Yeah. If it's anyone in your community or even a family friend, just call them. Say, hey, I'm struggling. I need some help. Can you help me? Or do you know somebody that can help me? And reach out, because we're all human and we all go through struggles at times. Not to be ashamed to ask for help, because we're all here to help each other.
And to realize that there are so many people out there that really actually want to help us, that would just love to help, and they just don't know that we need help.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Shawn, and I look forward to chatting some more about something else in a further episode.
Thank you, Shari. Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you all in the next episode.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.